ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Who would like to read this particular topic? We are on page 314 according to the PDF and shloka 347.
I can read, Sriji.
Sorry, 247. Go ahead, Anita ji.
The cause of one's sense of failure. Similarly, everyone has power only to a limited extent. You can improve your power, but only to a limited degree. Knowledge also is limited and can be improved upon only in a limited way. Anything else, such as your skills, health, longevity, your environment, are all limited and can be improved upon. But the improvement is always limited. Thus, there can only be an improved limitation. If this fact is understood clearly, then you do not take up the responsibility of authorizing the results of action as you like. If you think you are the author of the results of action, you cannot but have a sense of failure. Is it not true? What is being discussed here is yoga. It is not gnana. It is simply an empirical, pragmatic attitude and has nothing to do with Atma and Anatma, the reality, Brahman, and so on. It is simply looking at yourself as you are in the world, seeing how the world is, and your own position in the scheme of things. To convey this attitude to Arjuna, Krishna said, "Do not be the cause of the results of action. Ma karma phaleshu Ma karma phalahetur buddhi, because you are not. Then what are you? You are merely the cause of action. Karma hetu, not the cause of the result of action. Karma phale hetu. You are the author of karma, but not the result thereof. Given this fact, the most appropriate thing to do is to take whatever results come within an even attitude, samatva. By not getting what you want, you become wiser. Not getting what you want does not mean you have become a failure. It means only that your limited knowledge has improved somewhat. You have become wiser. Or if the result is more than you expected, you're also wise. In addition, if you try again, thinking you will again get more, and the result is not as you expected, you say, "What luck." Still, you have become wiser. Whether you gain or do not gain, there's always wisdom to gain. There is definitely something to learn. To whom that you are the author of the action but not of the result thereof produces samatva. In this context, samatva is nothing more than a pragmatic attitude. To make it to make it karma yoga, we have to go one step further, because karma yoga implies the acceptance of Ishvara. Unless you accept Ishvara, there is no karma yoga. There are a lot of people who are pragmatic and who take whatever happens in their stride and then proceed because they know it is all in the game of living and doing. They are more or less pragmatic, more or less objective, because of course they have their bad days. This is simple samatva.
Awesome. Thank you, Anita ji. So here they're talking about an attitude. In the next topic, they're going to talk about how the samatva can be gained. So we'll read that topic as well before we start discussing. Who would like to read this topic?
I can.
Please go ahead.
Karma Yoga requires the recognition of Ishvara. Samatva as yoga, on the other hand, requires one more aspect, recognition of Ishvara. Once we say the result of one's action is not within our control and that it is taken care of, the next question is, what is it that takes care of it? All results are taken care of by certain laws, the body of which we call either the law of dharma or the law of karma. In fact, it is a law of karma. Other than the physical laws that we know and do not know, there does seem to be another order of law. We are always finding orders within orders. For example, when you lift your hand, physical laws are naturally at work, but there are also many other laws involved. Lifting the hand involves will. You have a thought and up it goes. There is nothing physical about this aspect of lifting your hand. You need not push any button. Thus, although we find that this physical body, this anatomical structure, is standing on this earth according to physical law, it is born into this world by certain biological as well as physical laws. There are also physiological and psychological laws. We find then that there are laws within laws, so that when I perform a simple karma, even my past karmas may infringe upon the result that I want from this particular action. We really do not know if this happens or not, because we find ourselves lucky or not very lucky. We appreciate there is some law at work. Whatever is the law that governs the karma and its result is the law of karma, and the law of karma includes various other laws also. No law is created by me. I'm not the author of any law. If I were, I would not be helpless. I would always be able to accomplish whatever I wanted. There would be no problem. I could even reorganize the law to suit myself. I would not even need to cover the distance to reach a certain place. The place would come to me. Or I could think about being in a certain place and I would be there immediately. However, this is not the case. Therefore, we try to go by the laws, and at the same time, we do not know very much about them.
Awesome. Thank you, Taraji. And who would like to read the next one?
Riji, Kranti here.
Please go ahead.
Recognize the author of the laws. As one who knows very little, I can only go by the known laws and know that the laws are not authored by me. Then the question may arise as to who authored them. Certainly not my grandfather. He and his father and grandfathers before him were themselves all born of these laws. They existed because of the laws and they left the planet because of the same laws. The laws that bring people into being also take care of them and then take care of them for good. You find these laws always operating, and no given person can be considered to be the author of them. To recognize the author, then, is to take one more step. You must first recognize that the author of the laws produces the results of action and that the laws themselves do not. When you go one step further and recognize the author as Ishvara, the Lord, you have the beginnings of karma. Ishvara, the Lord, you have the beginnings of karma yoga. There are still more steps to go, but this at least is the beginning. The creation is not created by me. Therefore, whoever did create it is Ishvara, and the same Ishvara is the giver of the results of action. When you receive money from someone, month after month, the postman is the one who actually gives you the money. But this does not mean that the postman is a benevolent person who goes about distributing money to everyone like Santa Claus. There is someone other than the postman who is to be thanked. Similarly, the karma phala, the result is produced by the law, and the law itself is produced by another intelligent being. That all intelligent being, Brahman, is called Ishvara, the Lord. With Ishvara, the Lord, with reference to the creation. He is the overlord, in fact, the top man and the boss, not limited by time, space, or anything. Do you want me to?
So
Thank you.
we'll probably just pause here, because now we will be going into the nature of the author, which just brings us back to Vedanta, the Brahma Jnana. Now we are actually talking about Karma Yoga. So as when we conclude any of these chapters, we say Yoga Shastre. So there are two parts to Gita, right? So we will talk about Karma Yoga first, and then we'll go into Brahma Jnana. So what Bhagavan, going back to the shloka, there are 4 pieces to it. Now he's talking about the third and the fourth parts on don't try to, so on karma, you have the adhikaram, on what you do. That is the first part, not on the result. Is the second part. He's saying don't get attached to the result. Don't try to be the hetu of the karma phala. Don't try to think you control the karma phalam. And at the same time, because you're not in control of the result, don't be detached to doing the action. And we have discussed this at length, but what specifically I wanted to share was that karma yoga philosophy comes when they say like samatvam. How can you maintain samatvam when there are difficulties in one's life? I can maintain samatvam probably when there is elation. Probably I can control it a little bit. When there is grief, can I also control it? Is it in my control when things are not going in the way I would like it to be? So that's when that formula for karma yoga that I keep talking about, Swamiji used to insist many times, is the combination of Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. Everything that I do as an action is an offering to Lord's feet, and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi. Anything that comes back is a result of my actions, and I'm going to take it as a prasadam. And whether I like the taste of the prasadam or I don't like the taste, whether it leaves an aftertaste, doesn't matter. It is prasadam. We will take it. We will not throw it in a bin. That attitude is a must-have. And how do you get that samatvam over a period of time? It is not going to be overnight, unless somebody is an uttam adhikari. They don't even have to go through all of this. So there are different methodologies and processes one can follow to get to that point. But there is a Janaka Maharaja's story. I don't recollect where this story comes. I don't think it is from Ashtavakra Gita. Ashtavakra Gita is deep Vedanta. So apparently Janaka once was at his guru's hermitage. So he left the palace. He took some close members of his court with him, and they were all in the Guru Shastram, and the Guru is actually teaching them something. And Janaka was sitting at the back and listening very intently. At that time, one of the somebody comes and whispers in his ears that the palace is on fire. And that's it. When other people hear about it, they panic, all the other students. But Janaka is just sitting there with no emotion, and just he's waiting. He's actually irritated with the person that is actually sharing and disturbing him in the middle of the class, and he's just listening to his guru. So people ask him, so why did you not panic? So he says, there is nothing that I can panic now, and I cannot rush to the palace. I'm not going to be able to stop the fire. I'm pretty sure somebody is taking care of it. Between now and then, even if I started walking towards the palace or just traveling towards the palace, it'll be too late. What I can do now is to hope that somebody is taking care of it, and it'll be taken care of. And whatever it is, it's happening already. So that is samatvam. The other major example that gets quoted, and Swami Paramarthananda quotes it quite as well, is Lord Rama. When Dasharatha announces to him that he is going to be the crown prince and they're about to crown him king, Rama doesn't, is not elated with it. He says, okay. And when the actual ceremony is getting close, and then he gets to hear again from whoever informs him. I don't know if Dasharatha informed him. He says, they're saying like, you're not getting crowned. You have to go leave to the forest, and Lakshmana will be the crown, the king. Sorry, Bharata will be the king. And even then, Rama has no expression, like, no sad feeling about it. He's not depressed about it. He says, okay, so that's fine. And somebody asks him, and actually there is a whole yoga vasishtam. Rama asks these questions in his younger years to Vasishta, and it's a very beautiful Vedantic text, quite deep. So Rama has gone through the process to understand, to get that vairagya, right? I'm not attached to anything, and things do happen in our lives, whether they are positive or negative. How, as a very limited limited creation of the entire universe and a whole, a small part of the circle of life, I wouldn't know every implication that's going to happen, every law. There is no way I can understand all of this. What I can do is to respect it and be delighted with what I get, no matter what it is. That attitude needs to be built over a period of time. And there are sadhanas. If anybody is interested, then I'll post it in the forum. There are sadhanas on how each day is going to be different. It's just not overnight. There is no magic bullet for this. But developing that vairagya cannot be what is it? For example, Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight. I want to go into the forest and meditate. That's because he has seen his grandfather, and he has seen his guru or his acharya. And Swamiji always reminds us, if Krishna took the chariot and stalled it in front of Duryodhana or Dushasana or Karna, Arjuna wouldn't have felt the same kind of vairagya. So that's not really vairagya that he was having at that moment. There is emotional attachment with those people. So being able to detach ourselves from smaller things to start with, and then growing the amount of detachments we have over a period of time. Detachment does not mean neglect or being irresponsible. Detachment just means that we are not emotionally attached to the results. And I will want to remind everybody of that quote Swamiji has in the earlier pages of this book. It is not your son's disobedience that bothers you. It is your dependence on his obedience. I'm paraphrasing it. So that it is, what are we dependent on? Recognizing those dependencies and slowly evolving ourselves to go beyond those dependencies. And that is what is detachment. Any thoughts before we move to the next one?
Shriji, did you say to develop that there is a sadhana? Is that what you meant? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So over a period of time, like how to detach and get that vairagya, and how to maintain that samatvam, there are sadhanas.
Would you please be able to share that?
Yeah.
In the group?
I'll
Thank you so
send
much.
in the group. Yeah. Okay. So who would like to read the next one?
Can I please?
Please go ahead.
The nature of the author. The Veda comes in here to address the question of the author and his creation. From that Brahman alone, the 5 elements are born. Therefore, with reference to the creation, that Brahman is considered to be Parameshwara. Not only is he Parameshwara, the author, the maker of the creation, Nimitta Karana, he is also the material. This is another important point. Because the world, Jagat, is mithya, having no independent existence apart from Brahman, it requires only a mithya cause called Maya. Maya, also being mithya, has no independent existence apart from the Satya, Brahman, whereas Satya does not depend upon anything for its existence. In the Maya, there is Satya. Being mithya, the Jagat is also Satya, and so are we. It is not that originally there was Brahman and now we have to cross over everything to reach that Brahman. Everything is Brahman.
Wherever there is mithya, there is satya, and that satya is the basis, adhisthana for everything.
Adhisthana.
Adhisthana for everything, sorry. Therefore, that Parameshwara himself, who is Param Brahma and who is the cause of the creation, Nimitta Karana, who is omniscient, Sarvagnya, the omnipotent, Sarvas Shaktiman, is also the material cause of the creation, Upadhana Karana. Thus, he is not only the maker of the results of action, but also the very law, the very result of action, in fact. Because our topic is Karma Yoga, we will not go beyond this point here, since to do so becomes jnana. We say then that Ishvara is the maker of the laws and also that the laws are not separate from him. The results of action coming as they do from the laws that are not separate from Ishvara, the Lord, and they come from Ishvara. It
Okay.
scroll.
So, yeah.
It is this recognition of Ishvara that converts the simple samatva to Karma Yoga. Without Ishvara, what we have been discussing is nothing more than a pragmatic approach to life. But here we are dealing with a purely religious approach, which is entirely different because it recognizes Ishvara, the Lord, as the giver of the results of action, karma phala data, and oneself as only the doer of action, karma karta. Therefore, to be a karma yogi, one has to accept Ishvara. Do I stop here or go ahead with the next paragraph?
Please go ahead with the next one too.
Okay. Ishvara now has one more definition, one who has all knowledge, Sarva Jnana. And when we say Sarva Shaktiman, we mean that he is all powerful and has all skills, being the creator of everything. Another defining word we have seen is Karma Phala Data, the giver of the fruits of action. These definitions eliminate the problems that arise when it is said that God created all beings. I may naturally ask why God created one person blind and another lame. If I am told that being God, he is justified to do whatever he likes and that I should not question him, I will definitely ask why God's creation is even talked about, since it's obviously nothing to boast about, especially when I am also told that he is all compassion. I am asked to worship and love. Can we go to the love him, but when I look at his creation with so much human suffering, God's compassion falls apart for me. Then I'm told that he is justified in whatever he does and I'm supposed to love him. How can I?
Awesome. Thank you, Jayashriji. Would someone want to read the next one? Bhaskarji?
Guruji, I am actually outside the house, but I'll try.
Okay.
I'll try, Guruji.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. The explanation for human suffering.
If you're actually watching it on a mobile, I don't want to trouble you, Bhaskarji. I can
Yes,
go ahead
Guruji.
too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Actually,
no worries, no worries.
yeah.
I'll read. Okay.
Okay, please go ahead.
The explanation for human suffering. The answer to all of this is that not only is he the creator, he is also the creation. The individual jiva is non-separate from and therefore not different from Parameshwara. The individual self, Atma, is Brahman, and therefore all that is there is the Atma that is Brahman. The Atma, the jiva, is not created. When you say a person is created, it is only with reference to a given physical body at a given time. The jiva is due to ignorance alone, and ignorance being
beginningless. The jiva is beginningless, anadi. The subtle and gross bodies, shukshma and sthula shariras, are born in the sense that the subtle body, shukshma sharira, always adapts itself to the gross body, sthula sharira. We also find that the shukshma sharira is always in keeping with the sthula sharira it adapts itself to. Thus, only a cat's shukshma sharira is present in a cat's body and not a human shukshma sharira. Otherwise, the cat will not mew at you. It will talk to you saying, "Come on, it's morning, get up." We find that in this world of living things, in each unit of creation, there is a sthula sharira which is in keeping with one's karma phala. Ishvara, defined as the karma phala data, is not to blame, nor do you need to justify Ishvara's action either. To do so would only be justifying your own. You did it, you got it. You asked for it, you have had it, and you have it also. You will continue to have it because you keep asking for it. Therefore, no one else is responsible for what comes to you. Every jiva is responsible for what that person is. This is the kind of responsibility that is assumed by the jiva here. You have a capacity, a free will to perform action. You can do whatever you want to do, but the result is always something that is taken care of by the law, that is responsible for what that person is. This is the kind of responsibility that is assumed by the jiva here. You have a capacity, a free will to perform action. You can do whatever you want to do, but the result is always something that is taken care of by the law, that is Ishvara. Why at all is this understanding necessary? To answer this question, we have to go a little more into the human psyche, defined here in the Gita as a psyche that operates on the basis of its own likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha. The entire Gita psychology is dealt with in the terms of raga and dvesha alone. No other norms are used. Raga and dvesha can be in an unspelled form or a spelled out form. You may not know that you have a liking for something until you happen to see it closely. Otherwise, how is it that even though you meet so many people every day, one day you suddenly meet someone you like a lot? Of all the people you have met and known, why this particular one? In fact, it is a wonder to your family and friends that you chose this person as a life partner when someone else whom they thought more suitable was already after you. There are lots of likes and dislikes embedded in us which are not shaped properly. We may call them unconscious, subconscious, or whatever, but still they are unshaped. Likes and dislikes, meaning that they are not very clear to you, but they are evoked when situations appear before you. All these are included in the term raga dveshas. Raga is that which is pleasing or desirable to you, and dvesha is that which is undesirable in your view. Both raga and dvesha are purely according to you alone. They are totally limited to the individual. Wherever psychology is involved, you must always know that it is according to you alone. When you say some man did something wrong to you, it is only according to you. In fact, if you ask the man, he will say that he gave you what you deserved. Thus, It is always a matter of perception, yours and the other person's.
Okay, I think the next one is also interesting, so we'll go ahead with this one. We'll pause then. Anybody else?
Should you hear the avoidance of undesirable?
Yes.
Okay, should I continue? Okay. Avoidance of the undesirable is also a fulfillment. What should you do when your whole life is dedicated to the altar of raga dveshas? To fulfill dvesha, you must stall what you do not want to happen, and when you succeed, you are very happy that you avoided it. Some people have become great devotees simply by avoiding what could have been a very serious accident. They say that God saved them. When you avoid something unpleasant, it is a great relief. People talk as though it is the great accomplishment when really you did not accomplish anything. The incident that could have created a problem for you simply did not happen. Still, you are so relieved that you became a devotee. Why? Because something was avoided. Thus, avoidance is a fulfillment too. We see then that what I do not want and I have to get rid of. What I want to have, I should have. And what I already have that is desirable to me has got to be retained. This is raga dvesha. Therefore, all your activities are nothing but raga dveshas, and all your psychological problems are also nothing but raga dvesha. What else are they? If you had no raga dveshas, you would have no problems. Just like in deep sleep. Until you sleep, you may have raga dveshas. The pillow may not be comfortable, the room may be too chilly, or you may have 100 other complaints. But once you have gone to sleep, there are no likes and dislikes. This raga dvesha argument is simple and complete. Certain things should be kept simple because the more you complicate them, the more problems there are. This applies especially to psychological problems which are based on one's anxiety to fulfill likes and
Sorry, we are here.
likes and all the psychological problem.
This one here, so maybe, oh, it doesn't allow me to go any further up. This place here. Can you see when I highlight or no?
One's anxiety. Okay. One's anxiety to fulfill likes and dislikes, and also on the judgments one makes with reference to their non-fulfillment. The necessity for karma yoga is because people are in the hands of raga dveshas. Their behavior, their activities, their responses and prejudices, cultural, racial, and otherwise, are all controlled by their likes and dislikes. All prejudices and preferences come under raga dveshas, whether they are binding or non-binding. It is said that even gods have preferences. When we worship Lord Ganesha, for example, we offer him a sweet modaka that we say he likes. This is based, of course, on our own likes. Thus, we impute our own raga dvesha to Bhagwan also. We say Ganesha likes this, Shiva likes that, and so on, so that we can deal with the deity as a person. You cannot deal with someone without preferences, but the idea is that our preferences should be non-binding.
Awesome.
Preferences,
Go ahead, please.
preferences should be non-binding. In everyone's life, there are preferences that are non-binding in nature and others that are binding. Preferences that are binding in nature are the ones we have to deal with. About those that are non-binding, we need not do anything. In fact, the Gita Shastra does not deal with them at all because they are not a problem. Whenever the Gita talks about raga dveshas, it does so in terms of one's binding likes and dislikes only. Even the one teaching the Gita, Krishna, the Lord, had preferences. For instance, he always chose the flute. He did not come with a guitar or a veena. We know that he knew what he was talking about as evidenced by his life. Whether we take him as a wise man or as Ishvara, the Lord, we cannot say that he had raga dveshas, even though he had his preferences. All of this is to point out that there are non-binding and binding raga dveshas, and we must deal with the binding ones. The binding raga dveshas are those whose fulfillment is a must for you and in whose non-fulfillment you feel like a loser, a struggler, a seeker, all empty inside. You are a seeker because you have hope. You want to fulfill your likes and dislikes. These raga and dveshas are binding in nature and they make you act. Action does not take place without reason. When you undertake a course of action, there is definitely a like or dislike involved. Raga dvesha is commonly called want or desire, kama. These likes or dislikes are behind every kind of action. We are talking here about the person who has just entered into a life of yoga for which the cause is karma. Therefore, the yoga should definitely include one's own likes.
We're here. This one.
Okay, and dislikes to fulfill. To do this,
Oh,
you
sorry. The one line above. They both had the same words to start with.
okay.
So this,
Includes one's own likes and dislikes. When you say, I'm a karma yogi, you have to accept that you have likes and dislikes to fulfill. To do this, you have to undertake activities which produce results, and these results are not always what you want because you have control only over your actions but not over the results. The results come from Ishvara. First, you accept Ishvara, and then you accept Ishvara as the karma phaladata, the giver of the fruits of action. When you do this, you have a purely religious attitude, the attitude of a devotee, a bhakta. The recognition of Ishvara as the karma phaladata is what makes you appreciate Ishvara in your daily life. Even when you fall down and incur an injury, Ishvara's grace is at work. That you fell down and hurt yourself does not mean that his grace is absent. Under the law of karma, you escaped greater injury. You did not break altogether. One can fall down and receive a small injury, not be injured at all, or end up in the hospital never to return. All these are possibilities. Therefore, as a devotee, we see Ishvara working constantly.
awesome. So we'll pause here for a second and then we'll reiterate a few points that Swamiji is talking about. So every desire, first thing that we talk about, yes, we have likes and dislikes, and we want to get rid of anything that we dislike. And we perform actions towards achieving that goal. Or we want to acquire what we like, and we want to acquire more of what we like, though we already have some. And what we have acquired, we try to retain it. So there are some actions that go into, some of our energy goes into that retention. And I want to retain it eternally. And if I lose it, I'll have grief. So this is a continuous cycle that we are talking about. Swami Paramarthananda actually gives 3 words for it. So every desire, comes with 3 dimensions. One, apurnatvam, is you will never feel fulfilled. So if I get this, I am so happy about it, I'm elated, and I want more of it. So whether it is, of course, there's the diminishing marginal utility when it comes to sweets. I might not want a 10th laddu now, but I might want it in the evening. So though in the instant moment we feel like, okay, I have vairagya after the 10th laddu, doesn't mean I have vairagya throughout the life. So there is always that apurnatvam, non-fulfillment. And then there is dukkha mishritatvam. So it comes with some pain. Everything that we acquire, we have to put in the energy to get it. And also there are some side effects with it. And just this example that I was taking of the laddu, then it might not be good for my health or for my calories, whatnot. So that it comes with something that I do not want. And it involves some grief as well. And then there is the bandhakatvam. It binds me. Every desire has the nature of binding to itself. So I am constantly looking for to retain, acquire, retain, and to retain it eternally. So most of our lives go in these activities. Instead, if we took it the other way around, and what one of the sadhanas that we used to get from Swami Dayananda ji is, he would say, stop labeling things. I like this, I don't like this. He always used to say, like, you have this bin called I like bin, and this bin called I don't like bin. Whatever happens, don't put them in those bins. They just happen, they're there, let them be. And accepting, like doing action, look, though there might be a result, obviously we, as Swamiji was saying, like, we always look for a result and then map out our journey to get to that result. Even if that's the case, you're acting, but your focus, as soon as you start your actions, your focus should be very less on getting to that result and, like, being passionately, like, looking for, oh, I absolutely need that. Avoid thinking through that lens and just perform your actions. And as you perform every day, just offer it at the feet of Lord. And I previously also mentioned, like, doing like physical offering to just before going to bed, go to your altar and in your mandiram, just do the offering, whether you do a pushpam or akshatas or just namaskaram, do that, offer it to God, and then go to bed. And every morning, just remember that, like, the first thing we remember is, thank you for everything that you are giving us. So with this kind of that attitude on that is, like, primarily karma yoga, just avoiding those likes and dislikes, and avoiding doing actions for the sake of a result. And whatever we do it to the full, whatever we can do our best, and then offering it at the feet of Lord and forgetting about it, and the results will come. Any thoughts on that before we move to the next topic? I actually wanted to cover a few additional concepts today. I don't think I'd be able to, because I'm not seeing the relevancy to it. I actually wanted to bring some of the concepts, like the pratibhasika, vyavaharika, paramarthika sattas. I usually try to avoid technical terminology, but we are going into some sections where we would need reference to those. So I thought I'd cover it today, but looks like, we'll probably stick to what we are doing. And next week, we'll start with that for 10 minutes, and then we'll proceed into 48th shloka. We have one more topic in this shloka before we go to, we can probably conclude, finish that and conclude for today. Any thoughts before we go to the next one? Okay. Anybody else wants to read the attitude of a bhakta?
I can, Swiji.
Please go ahead.
I'm Sushma. I can read this. The attitude of a bhakta. No matter what the karma phala is, I confront Ishvara. When I open my mouth to talk, when my tongue is able to produce the words that tumble out one after the other, it is all because Ishvara is at work. Karma I can do, but karma phala is something that takes place because of the laws that are the Lord. Therefore, every action producing a result, even a small action like opening and closing the eyelids, is the work of the law. In every action, there is an intended result that sometimes happens and sometimes does not. It is all according to the laws. Therefore, as a bhakta, a devotee, I continuously confront Ishvara as I receive my karma phala. Since every result comes from Ishvara, I take it as prasada, a Sanskrit word that does not have an exact English equivalent. The word grace has a somewhat intangible connotation, whereas prasada covers both the tangible results and the intangible, the grace. When I offer a fruit to the Lord, it comes back to me, given to me from the altar. The fruit that comes back is called prasada. For an English word for prasada to exist, the concept must be there, and it's not there. A dieting person may refuse a laddu, but not when he comes to know that it is from Tirupati Venkateswara. What converted the laddu into prasada? The tangible laddu becomes prasada because the person now knows that it comes from the Lord. Therefore, what converts a karma phala into a prasada is purely your recognition that it comes from the Lord. It is not just a statement, it is seeing, understanding. This is where the word experience can be used, if at all. It is a way of. Can you scroll it up, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I have highlights on my iPad, so I keep looking at iPad, so I miss scrolling. Apologies.
It's okay. It's a way of looking at the whole thing. Recognition that Ishvara is the karma phala data converts every karma phala into prasada. Therefore, prasada is not an object, it is a way of looking at an object. Prasada is purely symbolic. If a person with diabetes eats laddus, his blood sugar levels will definitely rise, not because he is eating prasada, but because he is eating laddus. Prasada is an attitude, a way of looking at an object, which itself is born out of understanding that it comes from the Lord. Therefore, prasada can be anything, a fruit, a leaf, a sugar crystal, a laddu, or even a child. Because in India a child is looked upon as prasada, there are many people who are named as prasad. Anything that comes to you as karma phala, as a gift from the altar of Ishvara, is called prasada, which includes the attitudes with which you receive it. Prasada is not received and then cast away disrespectfully, it is received in a certain manner. It is this prasada then that brings about samatva, sameness of mind. Once everything is prasada, I have nothing really to complain about. I have only something to learn. Therefore, when the karma phala comes, I take it as prasada. If it is more than what I wanted, I take it as prasada. If it is less than what I wanted, it is still prasada. And if it is exactly what I wanted, opposite to what I wanted, or different from what I wanted, it is all prasada. As every karma phala comes, there is a sameness in your reception of it. This is what Krishna is saying here when he tells Arjuna not to be the cause of karma phala. The karma phala hetu is Ishvara, not Arjuna. Arjuna is the cause of action but not the cause of its results. Further, Krishna said, let there be no attachment to inaction. Akarmani sangaha ma astu. Action itself is not the problem. It is your response to the result of action that is the problem. Thus, inaction here means fear of action, not of action as such, but fear that the results you want will not come. Even before you begin doing an action, you expect to fail. Therefore, Krishna told Arjuna that karma itself is not binding, nor does the karma phala bind him. It is his response to the karma phala that makes karma seem like a bondage. Thus, let there be a love for action, but let the results be received by you as prasada.
Thank you, Sushma ji. So I'm just going to highlight this one. That's a quote that everybody should just probably paste it near your desks where you work or where you have your, your lunch. It's the love for action. And how many of us really can love the action and not even think about the result? Is that a possibility at all?
Very difficult. I think it's very difficult, especially when you're so passionate about whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. And this actually is tougher when it comes to our immediate family. Something else, we can compromise. When it comes to children, I think that's where it becomes very, very tough. And parents, spouses, this is so difficult to do. So what are some of those things that we can start doing today for us to be able to get to that point? Today we are not going to be able to leave all of this and just say, okay, I have love for action and I don't really care about the results. So one methodology. Go ahead.
Sriji?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Padma, yeah, I just want to say when we want to have love for action, we have to have the attitude that, yes, I'm going to be doing my best. So that attitude is bringing that love in place.
Mm-hmm.
It comes with duty, yes, but then you love to do that duty. This is, I'm trying to relate it like that. So it comes, yeah, I have to do this, but I love to do this because this is my duty.
Yeah. And there is a very specific term for it. It's called as anushtanam, and there is no way you can translate it, just like many other non-translatables. Anushtanam, considering everything is not my action, and just planning your actions and noticing why you're doing a certain action, and if that action has an attachment to a result with it, and just doing that basic analysis on why am I doing this, that actually makes us be aware of what's happening. And as we say in in the business world, what you measure, you can manage that, right? So just that measurement in our minds, or just taking a diary on and thinking about, okay, how many of the actions were not meant or not non-binding is the word that Swamiji used, right? Like the non-binding actions, non-binding to the results. I did not do it because I like it or disliked it. I did it because it's the right thing to do. So that is called anushtanam. And I have never found a different word for it. So if anybody else can find a translatable for that, I would appreciate it. The other part I wanted to share is Swamiji talks about, and he jokes about it, Swami Paramatmananda. He talks about filing an FIR. And he calls it frequency. I keep talking about this almost on a daily basis. I don't know how it's missing my frequency, recency, intensity. Sorry. Frequency, intensity, and recency. How frequently am I, and like the raga, like the raga dvesha and kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Just keeping tabs on these 8 things. How often are they appearing in us? And how intensely are they appearing? And how recent was the last occasion where I actually had to go through this? So keeping track of this over a period of time, and that period could be as short as 3 months. there will be a significant change in us. And I can tell you with experience. Just try to just keep tabs on that. And there was a time I used to like literally maintain an Excel spreadsheet for this and have like, okay, today where was my pitfall? Where did I slip? And one of my other Gurujis calls it a banana peel. So where was that banana peel that I stepped on? And just having that mental note itself will help you in not getting to that, like, you won't repeat that mistake one more time. And that's how we actually get to cleanse and go beyond these things. And it is not easy. And we can probably get rid of like, what we are not really attached to. And I test myself with like, so many of what I call as the giving up. Am I really attached to, and as somebody from Hyderabad, I'm very used to masaledar and spicy food. Like my parents were from Andhra and moved to Hyderabad, and like I was brought up in Hyderabad. So we eat quite spicy food. And there was like one time I felt like, okay, what are my detachment levels? And I want to give up on spice, like no red chili, no green chili, no chili powder, nothing. Like, can I sustain that? So it doesn't have to be for long. I do longer periods, but try something of that sort where you're actually saying like, can I live without what we feel we cannot live without? We definitely can. And of course, like, our most attachments will be with our family members. I'm not saying that could be easily avoided. I'm not there anywhere close to that yet. But the other basic things, the amount of shopping somebody could be doing. Do you need all of that stuff? So taking those into consideration. What do you really need? What do you want? And what are your fantasies and fancies? How much are you spending your energy on each of these buckets? I think just and not allowing those likes and dislikes and not putting them in those baskets. These are some of the ways that Arshavidya Gurukulam used to just tell us. They wouldn't teach us to go do the sadhana in the Excel spreadsheets, but they would say this is what you need to monitor, and how you monitor is they would totally leave it up to you. So do some of these sadhanas, and let's catch up next week, probably come to 2-3 minutes if anybody wants to share their experiences. Try these and tell me if it works.
Shiji, can you just list those things that you put in the spreadsheet? Kama, Krodha, something, a list of stuff that you said.
Sure. I actually had a 64 list, but I'm going to put an 8, which is the most important ones, the major categories. So I'll list 8. And at some point, I think as we are approaching the 3rd chapter, because there's so much more on Karma Yoga, right? As we go towards the 3rd chapter, if there is significant interest, then I'll share my 64 spreadsheet. Any final thoughts?
Sriji, how long were you able to go without chili?
I still don't eat, Padmaji.
You don't eat now also?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm amazed, yeah, because the first thing I think of Hyderabad, the first thing of Andhra Pradesh is Avaka.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay.
Yeah, I make those the spicy stuff for my family. I do like all those avocats and everything for them,
Oh
but
my.
I don't eat.
Oh, okay. You take pepper? No, not even pepper.
I eat pepper because of
Pepper.
its Ayurvedic properties.
Yeah.
I do eat
Okay.
pepper and ginger,
Yeah.
but in
Yeah.
very
Okay.
limited quantities. I don't eat any extra sugars, just for the sake of it. Like I'm not attached to anything.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. My Guruji has told the ceiling on desire. So anything you do, you moderate, huh? And then you differentiate between needs and wants. You
Yeah,
are wanting many things, but is it really what you need? Is
yeah,
what so when we train ourselves to question us, we automatically reduce to what you're saying to make that table,
yeah.
of moderate. Yeah. Okay.
And like, as long as they're not binding, right? That's what Swamiji is trying to say. Like, I go to the extremes. That's I'm not suggesting anybody to do it. I shouldn't be as well. What Swamiji is saying is, do not be bound by any of these. You can have it like in moderation, but if you did not have it, you should not feel, you should not, you don't have to complain about it, or you should not be feeling like complaining about it. And the other thing that I wanted to share, when somebody was reading, don't recollect the exact context to this, but there was one more example that Swami Paramarthananda gives. And he would just give the example of, say, Shivaji Ganeshan. He'll say, think of Shivaji Ganeshan probably playing the role of a beggar. And he's in the middle of shooting, and he would get so immersed into doing that action that you actually, the people who are watching him will, in the movie, will cry, and they will go through all sorts of emotions. But when he finishes his shooting and he goes into green room, he just lifts off that he doesn't behave like a beggar. He is himself at that point. So in context of when there is an action that needs to be completed, and you have that scenario presented to you, you put in your 100% of it, but you don't carry that load of what you had to do in that scenario to other parts of your life, and you leave everything in those compartments. But there is the understanding, the inner understanding, and that you are the Atman, and everything else is being presented to you as scenarios, and you're just acting to, or you're doing your best action as the scenario is expecting of you. I hope that made sense. Okay, with that.
Yes, I think Sriji, that 6, I don't know, I learned 6 enemies, the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, that's one you're talking about, right? Matsarya. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So those are 6, and those 6 are caused because of the Raga Dveshas. So that's why we add the 2 at the front and then go with the Arishad Vargas, the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya.
Okay.
Okay, we'll conclude with a prayer. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sarvam Srimannarayana Charanara Vindarpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sriji.
Saram Sriji.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.
Hare
Shri Devi ji.